was really loud. I get a kick out of Michael McIntyre. If you want to watch some more, if you thought that was funny, click on YouTube and Google him. He's got quite a few that are just hilarious, and I think they're funny. And I was hoping John Laking was going to be on today so that he could enjoy that one, but I saw that Brian was, so I'm sure you'll share that with your lovely wife being a stewardess. So here we go. Yes, I see you laughing there. That's awesome. So good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Welcome to the weekly meeting of the Rotary Club of Barrie. Things go better when you are here. A special welcome to any visiting Rotarians and special guests. Please come and join us anytime you'd like. We love having people come and share this with us. Please stand while we begin our meeting with our little saying, "O Canada," and a toast to the Queen. Oh, for good food, for good friends, and for the opportunity to provide service above self through Rotary, we are thankful. Toast to the Queen, everyone. So our Beacon editor this week is Todd Armstrong. So if you have any announcements, want something in the Beacon to share with everyone, please get it over to him. And the Beacon is just that much more important to us to get messages and information out. So make use of it. Thanks so much to Sandy Martin for getting a Beacon out last week. It was great, and go from there. So let's see. I'm going to give Betty Ann a little bit longer. We'll go into birthdays and anniversaries. So we have Marshall Green, May 22nd, Jeff Hand, May 23rd, and David Blencarn, May 24th. Happy birthday. Our anniversaries are Janie and Rolly Harris, 46 years on May 22nd. Vivian and Doug Manning, 39 years on May 22nd as well. Kristen and Chris Holmes, 20 years, May 26th, so that's a biggie. And Terry and David Wilding, 54 years. Sherry and Mark, Sherry Helsdingen, I just messed that up, sorry about that. And Mark Adams. Mark, I'm sure you'll correct me on how to pronounce her last name, but it is Sherry and Mark for 13 years on May 31st, and Trish and Randy Maxim, 18 years. And we have one club anniversary, and that is Jerry Norman at 27 years. So we get our birthday song.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, dear Rotary. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, adorable. So it is in with Marshall's birthday today. Those are Marshall's grandkids doing a special happy birthday Rotary song. So awesome. So, and Betty Ann, guests and visiting Rotarians.
President Deb, I only have 2 guests today, well, almost 3. We have Hope with Michael Collier and little Adelaide. Oh, and then I see Alan Mallory has his little one. Brian Galbraith has his little one. So it's become a family affair. And we do have one guest, Raza Mirza. I'm not sure I pronounced that right, but welcome. We welcome you to our Rotary Club. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Betty Ann, and welcome. As I said, everybody is welcome. Please bring family, friends to join out for the fun. We have Past President David Tisch. Are you ready for a couple more?
Yes, I am, President Deb.
Awesome.
I'll see if I can get up on my screen again here.
It's always good to have a second or third try, you know?
Yes. Thank you, President Debbie. It's my privilege again today to make up for my screw up last week with respect to this presentation. I forgot one person, and the other person wasn't here for it. So we're just going to do a short presentation again here. Before I get into the actual presentation, I would just like to go over quickly again, because we didn't have this slide last time, and I just wanted to show you where we are right now with respect to our goals for the Rotary Foundation. Our current standing is for the annual fund is $1,200. Our goal is $2,500. The Polio Plus campaign is $5,298, and our goal is $12,000. I've just had some good news from Wayne, our treasurer, that we have some more money coming in towards the Polio Plus campaign. So that's going to give us a good boost probably towards our achieving, at least close to our goals with that. Again, I would just quickly go over why should you support Rotary Foundation. People that donate to the Rotary Foundation help in all these 7 areas of projects that are undertaken by the Rotary, by Rotary International. One of the foremost, of course, in a time of pandemics is fighting disease, trying to get rid of polio. The others are pretty much self-explanatory. Now, to get into our presentation, the actual first person that we're giving Paul Harris to has been a member of our club for a very short period of time. Oh, I want to just say, Paul Harris is, again, for those who don't remember, is whenever you make a donation of $1,000 US to Rotary Foundation, it qualifies you for a Paul Harris recognition pin. And these pins are given up to, are provided for donations up to $9,000. When you get a Paul Harris Fellowship, you also have the opportunity to purchase a medallion. These used to be given out along with your initial Paul Harris, but now you have to buy them, but you can buy one of these medallions for more formal purposes or presentations or whatever. So our first person is Paul Harris +1, has been a member of
computer work. That's right.
Sorry, I've been a member of our club for a very short period of time, but has been shown to be a very staunch supporter of the Rotary Foundation, and that is Sue Croft. So I drove up and gave her her presentation at her house in Aurelia. Thank you very much, Sue Croft. She's only been a member of our club since 2019. Our second one is a Paul Harris +4, so a longtime supporter of the Rotary Foundation. He's been a member of our club for quite a long time, but a staunch supporter again, and that's John Wernich. He's been a member in our club since 1989. And on behalf of our club and the Rotary Foundation, we want to thank those generous Rotarians who have supported the foundation. Thank you again. Thanks, President Deb.
Thank you. And yeah, again, you do an amazing job. You take this role on, and I understand that you're going to keep going for next year. So congratulations.
At least.
But you do a great job. So thank you. Let's see, we have Ian for Fun Run, past president Ian.
Yes, President Deb, thank you. I'm going to make an announcement here on behalf of Kara, but I think Kara, you have your shirt on. I'm looking for you on the screen here. So Fun Run shirt, yeah, there you are. For those of you that ordered a Fun Run shirt, then they are available for pickup as we speak. So just wanted to let you know that it's the 34th annual Fun Runs in full swing, or actually in full stride is probably the better way to say it. What we need now is for people to register online. So if you go to berryfunrun.com and register, either yourself or a corporate team, that would be great. Right now, as of just a couple of minutes ago, we have 146 people registered on the website and 9 corporate teams. I know there's a lot more out there who want to register, so please go out and do that. Starting on Saturday, you'll be able to upload your runs and walks and share photos and see results as they start to pour in. So there's also an option this year for people who register to set a fundraising goal for themselves. And they can then solicit donations from their friends and family. And so we have a tight race at the moment for the most funds raised by person. In the lead at the moment is Paul Markle. He's raised $460 to date. And then not far behind him is President Deb herself with $405. So she's in second place. But if you combine the household of the Lewises, so Betty Ann and Doug, they've raised $400 so far collectively, so a close third. So we've got some some action happening here. So keep the competition going. But remember, if you go to berryfunrun.com, again, you just click on register as an individual or as a corporate team. And when you do register, you get your own special link that creates your own special sponsorship page. So we're encouraging people to go out and ask for $5, $10, $20, $50 donations, so you can start to fundraise a little extra more, because I know the club needs it this year. So that's it. So get out there, participate, and check out the fun run. Thank you, President Deb.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the work. Yeah, it's a pretty slick website and way to go through. So very easy to use, couple of clicks and you're all set. So don't let that kind of scare you away. It's really, really easy. They've done a great job and it looks wonderful. So thank you for that. Okay, so we also had for a mini presentation today, but we have cut them down a little bit. Paul Markle. So you get your couple of minutes.
I'll be quick, I promise. So I just wanted to let everybody know, and I've been talking with Jody about this and Deb's by extension. The Barrie Chamber is involved in the distribution of rapid screening tests for businesses of 150 employees or less. We can also provide direct access for larger businesses to get test kits directly from the province. These test kits are free. The goal here is basically to get businesses and their employees screening so that we can prevent outbreaks in those locations, build consumer confidence, build employee confidence, and get us closer to being back to normal. So my ask to the club is, and we will be not quite ready to open yet. I'm waiting on the test to come in. I have 100,000 screens on order. But I will need some volunteer help. This is a program that we're going to run for not just a few weeks. It's going to run for as long as it needs to. And we'll be distributing from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. every day. So it's a bit more than my staff can handle for every single day. So we will look for some help from service clubs like us, and we will reach out to others. It may not be a lot. It may be a fairly thin requirements, but we will have a sign-up sheet out for anyone that's interested, and then we'll try to fill spots from there. So I just wanted to give you the heads up. My goal was to get it open by Tuesday next week. It really depends on whether I get the kits in or not. So any questions with regards to the screening, please contact me outside so I'm not taking up time today. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. That was a record. You did have me a bit concerned when you sent me that text that I was going to have a mini talk happening. So pretty good, but yeah. And remember, get that information out to the Beacon in detail. And I believe on the chat, it's going to be there as well. So a great cause. So help out our fellow Rotarian and help with this. So, and we have, continuing with some of our director reports, we have our very own past president, Baz.
Thank you, President Debbie. Hello, fellow Rotarians and guests. It was my pleasure this year and an honor to be on the board and take on the program and information segment of the functions that we have in Rotary for the board. I had a great team, Mallory's secretary and Ian Pavlik as the assistant, and then a whole slew of people that always do a lot of heavy lifting in this particular committee. Our year is basically highlighted by a number of varying subjects from Shaq's world with the attempt of one local person to make a difference in the lives of youth related to mental health. We had our own Dr. Dibble, thanks to Catherine Elflick for bringing him in twice to update us on the pandemic and the vaccines. We had a wonderful talk, Natalie Harris, about addiction and her struggles and her overcoming those struggles. Attorney General Doug Downey was very good at spending time with us to explain the system, legal system in Ontario as it has changed thanks to the pandemic. Our own Adam Smith had a little conversation with us about the struggles with how to survive in the restaurant business during a pandemic. We had a local fella, Adam, who has created a storm chasing app and a weather app that since then has been downloaded by quite a few Rotarians and used on a daily basis. I'm one of them. Who can forget Chris van Niekerk's classification? There were so many, and there's actually 3 more booked coming up over the next 3 months. We had Sash and Ash with their own local undertaking to make a difference in the world. And yeah, I can keep going. One of the things that I really liked this year that Sergeant at Arms was so active in helping highlight Rotary and Rotary stories, because that was also one of the mandates that we had set as a committee to bring the Rotary stories from our club to the forefront. And the breakout rooms have been a great addition to the meeting. And I want to mention that especially because that really made our meetings feel more like the meetings. I want to thank my committee for really all the work they've done, and all you members that have been passing on names and suggestions for speakers. This is a committee that cannot work properly without all the input from all the members, and we've had a ton, and there's still a ton to be worked at. So incoming chair Jason is going to have a relatively big book to start with to fill his schedule starting September 1st. And I want to thank the whole club for all their help and feedback for the work that this committee does. And thank you for letting me run this for a year, and thank all my committee for making it a great year. And that's my report for this year, President Debbie.
Thank you so much. And yes, thank you. It's I know it's a busy committee and it's consistent because every single week you need to find something and make sure that you got thankers and introducers. And I must say, I've never been left hung dry. So kudos to you. Congratulations. And thanks so much for all your work and your team's work.
Thank you.
Finding us great speakers.
Thank you.
Oh, now we have Catherine to take stage.
Oh, okay, I think I'm unmuted here.
Mark?
Am I good? Okay. Thanks, President Deb and fellow Rotarians. So I'm going to talk today about the tulip campaign. So if you like tulips, ending polio, and help raising money for the local Rotary Club, then this is the raffle for you. So we are currently raffling off more boxes of Rotary End Tulips Now Rotary End Polio Now tulips. The unique colored bulbs were developed in Holland, where Dutch Rotarians have led the world in using tulips to raise funds. The bulbs will be delivered in late September or early October for planting, which means they'll be ready for next spring. Just want to let you know that our club has already purchased these tulips. So anything we make from this raffle just basically goes directly into the coffers of the club. And so raffle tickets are available. It's 5 for 1 ticket, 20 for 5 tickets, 40 for 10, and 100 for 25. And the payment link, Ian was so nice to set up this payment link. And so there it is. And I just sent this information to Todd to put it in the beacon. So thank you, President Deb.
Thanks so much, and thanks for taking that on. It's a fun one and certainly one that will bloom.
Yes, very big.
So on that funny note, obviously we need to get SAA Eric in to create some more fun because, my humor is not hitting it. So SAA Eric, take it away.
Thanks, President Deb. You'll notice I just put the tulip raffle link in the chat. So if you haven't got your chat open, go ahead and do that. I will not be offended if I see you typing away, ordering your raffle tickets while we chat. So feel free to go and get that done. I did mine while I was off screen there for a moment. So I got a couple of things I wanted to mention, President Deb. One was I was keeping an eye on the screens today during the anthem. There's a fair bit of anthem protocol variability out there. So I would remind you that you are on screen. And so if you're choosing to sit during the anthem, I'm going to assume you're making a political statement or taking the knee. So do keep an eye on standing for our anthem and our opening ceremonies, because you're going to want to be in proper practice for when we can get back together again. So keep an eye out for anthem variability. Maybe I'll be watching that and making a few notes for future. I did want to thank the Marshall's grandkids for contributing again. Anybody else has family members that they would like to highlight and bring into the fold, that'd be great. Marshall's been providing lots of clips this year from local artists and from family members. But it was fun to get that personalized birthday wish today. Let's see, I've got a couple of things that I would like to deal with. Two of them are announcements outside of the announcements. One, of course, is related to the golf tournament. So we do have a theoretical golf tournament occurring a week today. And I was talking to Dave McCullough this morning. So we're just going to kind of keep fingers crossed. We are not formally canceling that because it's still possible that it will, that the course will be opened up. So here's the what ifs. So if the province does open the courses before next Thursday, and if Innisbrook is able to get up and running and staff the course in time for that session, then assume that we will be going ahead. We'll give a final confirmation as to whether it's a yay or a nay as soon as we have a word from Innisbrook that it's ready to roll. So if you've already signed up, you already got to force them in for the tournament next week. Keep that spot. We will hope that that's actually going to occur, and Dave will collect funds when we have that news. If you're no longer able to participate, if you gave away that calendar slot because you thought it was a done deal, then please just let Dave know, drop yourself out, because he does have people on a waiting list that is looking for that. Okay, that's one. President's Bash. So that one we should be good for. Again, we will be planning a virtual President's Bash. We may have a few more options available to us by then, but it's Friday, June 18, our traditional third week in June. 6:30 will be the time for the social to begin. And you'll be getting some meal options coming out to you shortly. So Wildwood is putting together some amazing things for us. So keep an eye on your emails for details when it comes to the bash. Those are my two announcement portions. Let's see. The other thing that's coming up in June is Father's Day, we've had Wayne mention to us a couple of times that, if you got a nice fishing prize, there's a few of them in there that would be pretty nice to suddenly pass along to Father's Day. And one of them that I was looking at today when I bought my most recent raffle ticket was the one that Wayne's just put up on the screen, $1,000 gift certificate, John McNabb Clothier. Wouldn't that be a nice thing for you to receive as a father or to pass along to a father? Wayne, tell me a little bit about this one. This is a pretty nice package from John. He's certainly a regular sponsor and supporter of our events. Why don't you come off mute and tell us what John's got going on?
Yeah, thank you, Sergeant Arms Eric. Yeah, no, this is a really nice one. He allows you to go in there, you'll be able to order, custom order, you'll be able to take anything from his store and spend up to $1,000 that he's donating. I mean, you talk about best dressed father. I mean, this is the place to go. If I think back in the old days when Bob Greer was president, He had to trade in his socks and everything, and he went right to John's place and got outfitted for the entire year that he was president. He looked really sharp.
That's true. We did have a very short span of time there where Bob looked sharp. And look at him now. So clearly Bob needs another trip to John McNabb's. He should grab a couple of those raffle tickets and, and we'll all look forward to the outcome. What do you think, Bob? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
That's
Bob?
good. You're on mute, but we're enjoying just looking at you.
Yeah, I think I've got 10 tickets on the process for that right now.
That'll be good. Anybody wins that one, maybe we can get Bob another nice tie. Be good for him. Let's see. Did we have Arlette on the line today? I do not see Arlette on the line.
Yeah.
That's okay. We can live without that one. Is Larry online today? Larry Pomfret.
I've seen him.
Let's see. Okay, so Larry, I don't have a picture for this one, but you gave me a hint that you had a good news story. So as an incoming SAA, why don't we give you a little bit of airtime now if you want to come off mute?
Well, thank you very much, Eric. President Deb, how are you today?
I am doing wonderful today. Thank you for asking.
Good to hear. I actually have two good news announcements. The first, my youngest boy, Jason, who is known to many in the club and is a past Rotary Youth Exchanger, was last week admitted with huge, glorious scholarships to the Health Sciences program at Queen's University in Kingston. So we're all very, very proud and proud of him. And I'm happy because that is my new RRSP. So in years to come, when you go and see Dr. Jason Pomfret, you'll be contributing to my lifestyle. And thank you for that. And my other brief good news announcement is I had lunch today. I ordered it from Royal Thai Cuisine. And my fortune cookie says that I continue to positively influence others. So you're welcome.
Very nice. Well, that's a heck of a good news announcement on both fronts. I like the scholarship concept. The scholarship concept had me seeing dollar signs. President Deb, what do you think of that? Like it can be a little bit of a bittersweet news announcement to get a kid into Queens for what will probably be a very long career. But if it's partly paid for, that's got to be pretty good news.
Please, before you levy judgment, the two of you, please remember that my memory lasts longer than 8 weeks. As does President-elect Jody's.
Well,
Yeah.
President Deb and Sergeant Arms Eric, if I may, I am the one that needs to have the memory because I think if I follow protocol, I get to set the fine. So there's a fine line here between defending my Sergeant at Arms and not ticking off the current president. So for this one, my friend, you're on your own.
Yeah, it's it just kind of follows along, but yeah, it is a very good news announcement, getting a scholarship, plus the fact that you're depending on this to be your retirement plan. That's a little scary, but
that shows how destitute I currently am, President Deb.
Yeah, or you're gonna live it up while you wait for it. So, and spend what retirement you have now. That's the one I'm gonna go with. So I think at least I'm kind of in the $20 range. What do you think, SAA Eric?
Well, the $20 is pretty good. So I mean, he's got a couple of options. We could see him pick up an extra ice fishing raffle ticket. That would be good, and he'd be setting himself up for some great prizes for Father's Day. The other way that he might want to gain some brownie points would be if he wanted to sponsor your run in the Rotary Fun Run. So that's another pretty neat way to go as well. So it's personally, I'm pretty happy to see former exchanger CJ do well with Queens. It's not Western, but it's still a school.
Well, Larry, there is a couple options. So are you going to directly suck up to me, or
I
No,
think I prefer to directly suck up to you, President Deb, simply because I'm the master of ceremonies at the ice fishing raffle. So I think it would be bad form for me to pull my own name out of the hat, or for you to pull my name out of the hat. So I think I'd rather sponsor you, President Deb, in the fun one. And if I might bargain a little bit, I know that you had proposed 20, but I will pay $40 and not a penny less.
thank you. And does that put me over Markle? It might. Yeah, it does. Yay. Thank you, Larry.
Good deal. You'll see that past President Ian has put Deb's fundraising page down, so all of you can gain a few brownie points if you're fast off the mark here. All right, let's see. I think I'll just have fun muting Larry. I'm gonna have to remember to see if I can carry on that privilege of muting people when the changeover happens. I'm taking a look here to see whether I have victims still in the room. One other thing on Father's Day, this is just an old bugbear that show of hands, who thinks Mother's Day is overrated? Nobody. Well, there's a few brave souls that are recognizing Father's Day as the more important time of the year, really. I'm sure you'd agree, President, that overrated.
No, I'm not going there. I get
Probably a lot of wise folks that are just keeping their hand down on that one. We may have to, I don't even think we'll do an anonymous poll on that one. Nobody's going to trust that it's going to stay secret. All right, so I got a bunch of those taken care of. Many of my victims are missing today. So I'm going to have to come back to a few of those folks. Alan Mallory. Is Alan around? There's Alan. So Al, we heard a little slip on that board meeting about a new vehicle, and possibly not the last new vehicle of the month. You want to tell us what's going on?
Well, Sergeant at Arms Eric, President Deb, we did get a shiny new truck out there, so that's pretty nice. Maybe I'll give you a quick tour out the window. There it is. Looks nice against the green backdrop. Maybe you couldn't see anything with the sun, but you know we did. It's a Silverado, and yeah.
And did you say it had a towing capability?
No, it does. Yeah, it's a 2500. So we're planning on towing. We're getting a fifth wheel trailer as well. So, but we haven't picked that up yet. So I should be off the hook so far.
Oh, well, you know what would be great is if that doesn't land until Jody and Larry's year, then you can get fined all over again. President Deb, Silverado, it's pretty nice looking truck, and big plans for the fifth wheel.
Does. I'm kind of liking your idea, say, Eric, of, sponsoring me for the.
All right.
Pretty nice. It's so easy. It's right there. The link is right there in the chat. You can transact that in no time.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Larry set the bar a bit high, but we'll do something there.
That's good. We'll have it on the honor system for you.
Okay.
All right, President Deb, I think I'm going to leave it at that as far as the fines and such go. I think, though, that I have a poll coming up, and this is another update on vaccination. I want to see how we're doing, because this is going to make a big difference coming up, and certainly will make a nicer difference for next year's meetings if we have a good vaccination rate. So where are we doing? I've got giving you many options there that you've had both doses, you've got one and you're waiting, still waiting for a first dose appointment for some of those younger Rotarians out there. And I did leave an anti-vaxxer in there as well, in case you want to anonymously declare that. Well, this has changed over the course of the last month. We've got a pretty good response rate here.
That's looking good for potentially getting, together.
Yeah. I'm going to put these up on the screen. Look at this. 92% of you 44 have had their first dose and waiting for the second. That's terrific. I don't see any anti-vaxxers there. Nobody's got both doses yet, and just a few that are awaiting that that first dose appointment. So really, really good news. Thank you, Rotarians, for being responsible vaxxers. That's terrific. And President Deb, it's 12:50. How do you want to proceed? Do you want to take a little bit of time for breakout room or go program and then breakout?
Let's do breakout. And then we can also pick up a breakout, or people can stick around come 1:30 if they so choose. But yeah, we haven't had a breakout for a couple of weeks.
Okay, well, let's do that. Jeff, I can go ahead and launch these based on what we've got here in the room. So the breakouts are going to send you off. You can talk amongst yourselves, or if you are looking for a topic, I thought we've already done Netflix and chill. Why don't we talk a little bit about whether anybody's got a good book suggestion for a long weekend coming up or for summer reading. So if you choose not to join a room, you can stay out in the main room with Deb, and here you go. We got about 7 minutes we'll give you. And off you go. Should see our screen start to disappear. There we go.
That went pretty quick.
Pretty darn quick.
People are getting used to this. And I do believe that you can select your own breakout room too, right?
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, I should be able to pick out one as well.
So for those of you hanging on.
Just sending a message out to the gang.
Yeah.
So for those who are still around, any good books coming up for the holidays?
Oh, well, I was given one and I'm debating whether to read it this weekend or not. It's called Unbroken, and it's should actually run up and grab it, but no, it's a World War type book where he's gone into a concentration camp, and he was an Olympic, was in the Olympics, so the guards kind of pick on him. And at one point, what I'm told is that there's 200 men in this camp, and everybody had to punch him in the face as hard as they could, or else they would get shot. So he would have to stand there, and they would do this day in, day out. But apparently it's a phenomenal story. My nephew, kind of passed it on. He's in the military and just loves these books. But yeah, pretty heavy book for a weekend, but I think it's going to be worth a read.
They also made that into a movie in 2014.
Did they? What was the guy's name? Do you remember, or who he was?
Give me one sec.
Yeah. Yeah, my nephew kind of gives me like kind of umbrella stuff, but when he does pass me a book, I really make an effort to read it because.
Louis Zamperini.
Yes.
It was directed by Angelina Jolie, written by the Coen brothers, based on the 2010 nonfiction book by Laura Hildebrand.
Yeah, so.
I have one recommendation for everyone in the club to read: how to use Zoom and how to unmute yourself. That'd be a great little quick book to read.
Would it?
Well, you're fine. It's everyone else. It's like, how hard is this?
Oh, I know, but unless you use it, right? Like, or you switch, like if you, from your iPad to your phone to your laptop or your desktop, like it gets put in different spots. So.
Well, I saw the list that came out of who's on what committee, and I expect I'll be the one running the meetings for club service.
Well, what is it, Eric, we learned? The technology falls on SAA?
For the main meeting, yes. For the main meeting, yeah, that was news to me. I did not select my committee based on that knowledge until it wasn't until I read the club bylaws later on.
Should have asked me about 15 years ago, because I had it out with several Sergeant Arms saying, well, it's your job to do this. No, it's not.
No.
Yes, I did pass that along to
Club
to
service
Jody
runs
and Larry.
club and club activities. SAA runs the meetings. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yep, that was news to me. So I made sure to pass that information along, because it does make a difference in the draft if you're looking for a little technical
I remember it was in
support.
Baz's year. Rose came over to me and said, where's my microphone? I said, it's back there. Well, what do you mean? It's your job to get it out to me. No, it's not. I'm not in charge of running the meeting with the big bright eyes. Well, who does run the meetings? Sergeant at Arms. Oh.
So does this mean I can hand over the reins of the Zoom?
I think so. Yeah.
Technically, the secretary ran it, Jeff, because I ran it when it started, and it sort of
exactly
you sort of got handed to it. But technically, it is an SAA position. You're just supposed to make sure everything's happening by way of documentation and paperwork. You really don't. I don't know if I should have told you this 40 weeks ago, but it's really not your job. SAA is supposed to be running the meetings.
But you're doing a great job of it, so let's not change anything just yet.
Yeah,
Seven more meetings
later. Eric, nice try.
Reading a book. What other book is good?
Yeah, let's talk about books. Fast.
Please, anyone change the subject. Please, please, please.
I wouldn't jam you, President Deb. Jody, on the other hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, didn't you see how good is Larry at Zoom? That would be something.
Yeah. So I don't know. Who else is reading? And we got another good book suggestion.
I'm going through a book on Swift programming this weekend. I'm sure that ought to be riveting.
Yeah. I don't even know if I could fake reading that one. Sorry, David, you're on your own there.
Yeah, well, I don't expect a lot of people to be programming for computers these days. It's not something that the average person runs out to do, but I've been requested by a group of prop makers to help out with that. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, you do a great job. So, it looks like we're getting our people back.
That was fun.
The rooms are closed.
Did you get any good books, Bass?
No, we talked family.
That's all good too.
It was very good.
Family's almost as good as good book.
No, it's better. And I love good books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am hoping there's going to be a few in the chat just to get a few titles.
By the way, another idea for the weekend is Liberty North is doing a burger box for the barbecue, which is a pretty cool box. They have 2 or 3 specialty burgers made up, and the box includes everything, including beer and buns and the fixings for and side salads. So we'll be taking care of that on Saturday.
Oh, excellent. Getting people back. Okay, do we have everybody now?
It appears the breakout rooms are all done. Yep, you should be in good shape.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hope everybody enjoyed that. Again, if there's books or titles, please share them in the chat. Always looking for something. So now we'll go on to our program. I'm going to have Beatrice introduce our speaker. Beatrice, you're on mute. There you go.
Thank you, President Deb, fellow Rotarians and guests. I am so honored and excited to introduce you to Dr. Raza Mirza. He received his master's and doctorate degrees from the Graduate Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences at the University of Toronto's Leslie Dan Faculty of Pharmacy. We are fellow alumni of that faculty. His areas of expertise and teaching interests include research methods, medical decision-making, the social behavioral determinants of health in persons aging with a chronic illness, and factors influencing late life social, mental, and physical well-being. He has been an invited speaker at national and international gerontology and geriatrics conferences, workshops, and symposiums, and has consulted with various levels of government on diverse issues related to an aging population. Dr. Mirza currently works in research at the University of Toronto's Institute for Life Course and Aging as an assistant professor, and is the networks manager for the nonprofit organization called the National Initiative for the the National Initiative for the Care of the Elderly. The acronym is NICE. It's an international knowledge transfer network in the field of aging. He is the lead for the Canadian Home Share Program, which I believe he's going to talk about today, and was the co-lead for an age-friendly community study of social isolation of Chinese seniors in the Kensington Chinatown area in Toronto, and is the chair of the Central Ontario Age-Friendly Network. That's the official bio. I'm just going to add a more personal twist to this to say that Dr. Mirza and I have started off, we've known each other for a very long time, 20 years when we started in graduate school, which means we were 15 years old when we started graduate school. He is an extreme ally of women in leadership, disenfranchised populations. He is an advocate. He is one of the most hardworking people I've ever met, and a friend. So I'll pass the mic over to Dr. Mirza.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. I just want to make sure that you can hear me. Yes?
Yes, we
You can hear me? Okay, so the very formal, I have to admit that the very formal introduction sounds like my mom wrote it, and it embarrasses me every time I hear it. So I'll say that first, and then the second thing I'll declare is that this red shirt is a laundry issue and not an allegiance to the Montreal Canadiens in any way. I'd be wearing my Toronto Maple Leafs Doug Gilmore jersey right now if it was a different situation. But with that being said, I'll talk to you a little bit about a home sharing program, and if it's possible, I'll just share some of my slides, and I have a very short video I'd like to show you today as well.
Yeah, we can definitely arrange for that.
Okay, so I'll share my screen, and please ignore the 18,000 emails that will tick up when you see that. Okay. So I'll start off by sharing this slide here. It's from a few decades ago when we could fly and travel and we could do things in groups. But I took this picture because I really was startled by the limited amount of space that the city of Toronto had. And I looked at all the houses that were everywhere, and I wondered how we could be talking about a housing crisis and how we could talk about the fact that there's a 1% vacancy rate. It seemed like there was cranes everywhere, that there were homes everywhere. And I also started to think about this one statistic that was in my mind a lot at that time, which was that in a lot of these homes and these spaces that I was looking at, there was about 5 million empty bedrooms. So 5 million empty bedrooms in spaces in the city of Toronto. And then if we look at the number across the country, there's about 12 million of those empty bedrooms. And I'll talk about one of those empty bedrooms very shortly. But you know, the other thing that I'd like to frame some of the things that we talk about is the headlines that we're seeing about housing and how it relates to older adults, some of the big cities in the world. And you can see some of the headlines that are highlighting some of the issues that are related to housing in general. And look at some of the ones that are sort of troubling for me is that Toronto seniors are clinging to their homes and may spell doom for young buyers. You know, new report finds, you know, millennials are really clinging to hope to get into the housing market. So there's a generational sort of tension that's being set up, that there's an expectation that older adults at some point should be moving out of their homes and should be clearing the way for younger people. And I really find that to be bothersome, because I think that older adults have every right to stay in our homes and communities, and that the expectation shouldn't be that the next place for older adults is the nursing home or the retirement home. And what we can see from the pandemic is that a lot of older adults actually want to stay in their homes and communities as long as possible. There's a couple other troubling headlines here that I'd like us to just think about here for a second. One of them is this headline from the UK, where an older adult, after their spouse passes away, they put up a sign in their window, basically begging others to sort of provide comfort and support because they were so isolated. And so this also ties into this idea that although there's all this housing and people are living in the homes and communities of their choice, potentially they're doing it at the expense of their financial, social, or general well-being. And then the final headline that I'll just point to here very briefly is the fact that up to 12% of the individuals who are in retirement homes or in long-term care homes aren't there because they have health needs. They're there because their social and emotional needs aren't being met. And I think that's really problematic. And, you know, it gets me to think about, well, why can't we meet people's social and emotional needs in the home and their community? And so that's what I'd like you to think about while I talk today and while we have a discussion. And you're getting a very authentic experience of home sharing, because if you can see this background here, this is a spare bedroom in my mother's home that I'm living in. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the context of that. But, you know, sometimes people ask questions of my mother and say, well, why do you need this big home in the suburb? Why can't you just move and downsize? And my mother says things like, well, I actively chose to live here 30 years ago because my neighbors are some of my family members. I really like the community. I actually chose to live here. And the only really motivation for me to move from here is if, well, I could replicate this experience somewhere else. And it's often not possible to do that. So all that being said, there's a couple of trends that we're seeing in society right now. And as of 2016, the good news story is that older adults actually outnumber younger individuals and in the community. One of the other things that surprises people is that 95% of older adults actually live in communities. They don't live in retirement homes, and they don't live in long-term care homes. And so this presents a challenge for us as well. So while older adults are living happier and healthier and wealthier, it also puts pressure on the housing market, on the healthcare system, et cetera. And so we have to think about solutions that are going to be forward focused and not only about the current old, but also about the younger generation and the future old. And so I'll frame this in terms of what this means for Barrie. If you look at some of the averages here for Barrie, you can see that about 14% of the population in Barrie is an older adult. If you look at Oro-Medonte, it's about 20%. And the Ontario average is very similar to the Canadian average, where the senior population is 16.7% of the big cities here. I think, again, the key point that I want to make is that these older adults want to stay in their homes and communities for as long as possible. And we have to really create the opportunity for that to happen. And the other piece here, just another point to frame a lot of this, is the fact that the longer you live in your home, the more likely it is that you will stay in your home. And you can see that this is the information from Harvard and from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation that, you know, once you've lived in your home for about 10 years, there's a greater likelihood you're going to age in place and stay in your home. But going back to my earlier point is, at what expense are people potentially doing that? So if I'm not in this home with my mother, my mom is probably unable to use the second floor. There's a lot of issues around the lights, for example, that have to be changed sometimes. There's a safety issue around here. There's a lawn that has to be mowed. There's snow that has to be shoveled. And so there's things that my mom can't do on her own to stay in the home. And there's an additional cost associated with that, for example, too, that she potentially on her pension can't bear that cost. And so this home sharing agreement that her and I have, which is also just me living with my mother, works out very well for both of us, especially in the big city where it's very expensive. So I want us to think about this other point here about being stuck in place. So are a lot of people who are living in their homes and in their communities kind of stuck in place? Because really, where would my mother go? Or, you know, a lot of older adults who are living in their homes and communities, where would they go? Because if they decide to sell their homes, then they're potentially moving away from their friends and families and relatives and the other sort of active community that they've put together. And so this is another point that I wanted to raise, is this idea of aging in place. It seems like it's a very positive thing that we've kept older adults in their homes and communities. But again, the question comes back to, well, what's the expense? You know, is it because we are unable to financially support these individuals? We can't provide opportunities for engagement. Are people really staying in their homes at the expense of their independence? And the longer you live in that home, you know, and if you're on a fixed income or on a pension that can't potentially support you in later life, it becomes a challenge. And there's a couple of quotes here that I'd like to share with you. You know, it says, "The stairs are getting so hard to climb. Since my wife died, I just opened a can of soup for dinner. I've lived here for 40 years and no other place will seem like home." Well, these these things sound like people want to stay in their homes, but there's a few challenges that they face. And sometimes they really are strictly financial. So we started to think about, well, how do we address some of these social issues that we're seeing? And this is a very sort of basic graphic that I've put together here for you to recognize some of the push factors for people out of their homes. So what is it that pushes someone like my mother or an older adult in the community like Barry out of their home potentially? There's financial reasons. There's reasons of not feeling safe and secure in your home. Potentially, you know, you've gone through a late life divorce, or your spouse has passed away and you don't feel safe in your home anymore. You're no longer able to drive. You can't do something simple, as I mentioned, like change a light bulb on the second floor or in your bathroom. Potentially you're unable to cook, or you can't, you know, shovel the snow or rake the leaves. And some of it has to actually do, again, as I mentioned, about the fact that people need social relationships and engagement. And the Rotary Club Barrie is very lucky in this way that there is an opportunity for engagement, but there's many people who don't have this opportunity. And I think that as you grow older, it becomes a little bit more of a challenge to have a network of individuals. And so what we started to think about is, well, why can't we bring all of these push factors that would take someone out of their home and community back into the community and allow people to stay in their homes for as long as possible? And so with that in mind, we put together something called a home share program. And the home share program is obviously exactly what it sounds like. It's a person sharing their home with someone else. And in this particular example, it's a person, an older adult who's over the age of 65, sharing their home with a university student. And essentially what this program is doing is it's leveraging a few points that I've already made. Very low vacancy rates in places like Barrie and Toronto, very high rental rates. For example, in Toronto at that time when we were developing this program, it was about $1,800 before you've even turned on the lights or had bread and water for yourself. So these are some of the factors that we were working against. And then the other thing is that there are a lot of empty bedrooms, and older adults sometimes do feel overhoused, but they want to stay in their homes. And so how could we do something with this? And I think the key piece here is that a lot of those homes are in communities where there are post-secondary educational facilities like Georgian College, like Lakehead and Aurelia, and like the University of Toronto and Ryerson in the city of Toronto. And so we built an intergenerational home sharing program that connected older adults with the university and connected university students with older adults, and they shared their homes. And so I'll give you a few details about what the home sharing program looks like. And in this model, I think one of the key points that I wanted to make is that, well, if all these empty bedrooms exist and there's 12 million of them across the country, well, why can't older adults themselves just put an ad in Kijiji or Airbnb or Craigslist or something like that and get a student or someone else to live in their home, and they could support them and have the money and other things that they would require to stay in their homes. And unfortunately, most people don't feel comfortable doing that. They don't know who would be the right person for them. They don't know about the Landlord-Tenant Act. So what we did is we developed a program which is a facilitated model. And this facilitated model of home sharing, what it does is it leaves all of the guesswork out of who's a good fit for who out of the equation. And so in this particular model, a student who's interested in housing, for example, in exchange for providing something like raking the leaves or shoveling the snow for 5 to 7 hours a week, is matched with an older adult. And the older adult has nothing to do with figuring out if it's a good match or not. And the model is facilitated because a social worker actually does all of the matching. So all of the matching, all of the mediation, all of the exchange of money and everything like that happens right through a social worker. And so the student gets a sort of built-in job within the context of the home that they're sharing with an older adult. So they provide 5 to 7 hours, as I mentioned, of some sort of support to the home of the older adult, whether it's cooking or companionship or raking leaves or mowing the grass, as I said. And in exchange, in a big city like Toronto, where rent is about $1,800, you get to live in the home of someone close to campus sometimes for between $400 and $600, which is unheard of. So this is the basic model, and just some very brief points about it as well is that we take care of things like vulnerable sector screening. We do a home audit to make sure that the home is safe for the older adult and for the student to live together. There's interviews, there's an educational module. There's all sorts of sort of work that goes into it to make sure that it's a good match. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the details and show you a very brief video as well. Now, the Toronto version of this home sharing program, we held information sessions. We had an advisory committee that was highlighting some of these things. we held information sessions at university fairs. And one of the troubling things, again, and I'll tell you some of the more positive things after, but one of the other troubling things that I can tell you from this is that there was a lot of ageism. When we would go to these university fairs and we would say, you know, our sort of big hook was the fact that you could get $400 to $600 worth of rent in a big city like Toronto. We had huge lineups. There would be 50 students lined up and saying, how do I get that? And then the lineup would be halved as soon as people would find out that it meant living with an older adult. All of a sudden, students would say, well, I have nothing in common with an older adult. Why would I want to live with an older adult? And older adults too themselves said, well, I'm not sure if these younger individuals are trustworthy, or, you know, I should have a younger person in my home. I probably want to have a relationship with somebody who's probably my age. And one of the things that happened and really surprised me is that we started to make the news. You know, there was starting to be media that showed up at the information sessions that we were having. And it surprised me. And at the same time, excuse me, it was disappointing to me that there was so much media and so much attention, because the solution seemed quite simple. Lots of people with empty bedrooms, lots of people needing support, precarious housing situation, but there was a lot of media attention, and some of it was quite negative. And so the negative aspects of the media part was the fact that in the comments section, I made the mistake of going down and reading the comments section. There was people saying, well, this is really sort of small scale thinking in the middle of a housing crisis. And there was other people saying things like, you know, can't wait to see my grandma and the first year students drinking on the porch together. This sounds like a disaster in the making. So there was this sort of negative rhetoric that was around that. And I'll share this video with you, and it's a very brief one minute video, and I'll just unshare my screen and then put the audio on. Just 1 second. And this will be about that person, the student's experience. Sorry. So this is one of the pairs that were in the Toronto Home Share program.
Two been living together
since October.
Wow, this is so new.
It's new. Yeah.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you seemed already, like you were saying, you seem so connected after 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it was
happened
pretty-
the first week.
it was
yeah,
developed.
it was right away. Yeah.
Can you tell me about it, a little bit about it?
I don't even know what I couldn't describe it. We just connected. We have a lot in common, and we just get along. We have a lot of worldviews that are the same. We get along really well.
The first night I came, we had dinner, and then everything got to talking about politics and social problems that are happening around the world, and we realized we have a lot of similarities and a lot of differences when it comes to that. So it was interesting.
Do you remember that conversation? Do you remember what stands out from that conversation?
We talked about Doug Ford. I remember we talked about left wingers, right wingers, the community here and how they're involved in politics and stuff like that. I think we also talked about the education system. We talked about a lot of stuff.
Was it a long conversation?
It was.
Yeah,
We talked a lot.
We wanted to get to know each other.
Sorry, we'll just go back to. Sorry about that. I just have to switch through these two applications here.
No, we know all about technical stuff here.
Okay, good.
Or you just have patience.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So that basically was just a short video that I had made on my iPhone, looking at the experience of this one individual who's in their early 60s, went through a late life divorce. Their children moved out and went off to university. And so they felt that, you know, they wanted to stay in their home. While they were waiting for knee surgery, they were unable to do lots of things around the home, and they really needed some support. And so that's how I met this older adult. And the student who was moving in from Ottawa was unable to live on residence due to the cost. And because of the cost, again, related to living on in the city of Toronto, they chose to live in the home share program. And it's been a great experience. And they've continued to be part of this program over the last 3 years. And so this is one of the more positive stories. And while I agree that, you know, that it is, in some ways, it is smaller scale thinking, I would say that, you know, we haven't been able to make a difference for everybody, but for a lot of the people in the program, we have made a difference. And I'll just go very briefly over some of the more important points and some of the things that we learned from the home sharing program and intergenerational engagement. One of the things that I'll tell you is a challenge is that older adults do not, as I mentioned, feel comfortable doing this sort of exchange-based relationship on their own. And so they really appreciated the fact that there was a social worker who was able to help address some of the issues that would come up, that there was somebody there to help with things that would come up with relation to things like cleanliness or financial exchanges, et cetera. And we were working with the City of Toronto and the agency that I run right now. We had partnered to help develop and promote this program. A couple of the other things that we learned from this, and here's another image of an individual. And again, I'll tell you this story very quickly. The individual on the left is a 92-year-old who had at that time put their husband in a nursing home, long-term care home, because they were dealing with dementia, and all of a sudden were living in a large home on their own. And the other person that you see here is a 52-year-old paramedic student who actually was homeless in the City of Toronto. And what they told us at the information session was that they were living in a homeless shelter at night, studying all day at school, and would love to participate in the home share program. And so even our idea of what a student is changed as a result of this, because we weren't expecting a 52-year-old student to be needing housing support and to be an individual who is still in school, but a couple of the other sort of stories that are emerging from this. And you can see that sometimes it's simply about not wanting to be alone, knowing that someone's in your home with you. And so these were some of the benefits that we found from this intergenerational home sharing program. A couple of very quick points about some of the things that we learned. One of the questions that people asked was, well, what happens when the student moves out? You know, if I'm isolated and I'm lonely and I'm participating in this program because, well, I would like someone in the home with me, what happens when they move out? And well, that was a question that we thought about, we were worried about. And what we saw happen was that a lot of the older adults who were, you know, self-reporting that they were isolated or lonely at the beginning of the program actually were able to network with one another and create a real sort of connection with other people who were in the program. And so that was something that developed very organically from the program that we highlight as a great benefit from this as well. And just some quick points about some of the things that, you know, motivated people to participate in the Toronto version of the program. There was a real financial incentive. Intergenerational engagement were reasons why people participated, greater sense of social connection, a sense of sort of security and belonging. You know, we asked questions around, you know, what were the things that you did together? The older adult and the student living with them completed household tasks together. They discussed world events. They watched television. So there was all sorts of things that preparing and eating meals that the older adult and the student did together. And, you know, I want to go back to the point I made earlier where individuals were thinking about, well, what do I have in common with this person? But the longer the two sort of age groups and generations engaged with one another, they learned how much they actually do have in common with one another. With regard to social isolation, could programs like the home share program address issues of social isolation? And most people would say they agreed or strongly agreed that you could address social isolation through this. And I think for me, the most important one was, well, could it keep people in their homes and communities for longer? And the majority of individuals said that they agreed or strongly agreed that a home share program like this one could keep people in their homes and communities longer. I'll just give you a quick update of where we are and some of the thinking around it. Well, is home sharing a housing issue? Is it a health issue? These were some of the other questions that policymakers were asking us about this. And, you know, the response I gave to them was simply in the context of what it costs to sort of keep an older adult out of a hospital or a long-term care home, or for them to receive home care. And so if there's an older adult who has no one to call, and about 20% of older adults in the City of Toronto are going to say that they have no one to call in an emergency. And so what they'll do is they'll pick up the phone and dial 911. And if they end up in the hospital or needing emergency care, it'll cost $842 a day. If an individual's condition deteriorates and they need to be in a long-term care home, publicly funded ones cost about $126 a day. And if you need home care, you know, and it's about 14 hours a week at max, it's about $42 a day. And programs like this one, it costs 54 cents a day. So if we can help even address some of the issues that would lead someone to, you know, need home care or institutional care, then we really are thinking forward and addressing a lot of the issues that we can avoid in the future. And with the pilot program that I've just been talking to you about, we were fully funded as a program by the City of Toronto in 2019. And I'm happy to share that the program, and you may not know this, but actually our first expansion point was in Barrie. So in February of 2020, and we were working on this since 2019 with the mayor and Georgian College, Toronto Home Share expanded to become Barrie Home Share as well. And as a result of the pandemic, things have been on hold, but we are working towards having a fully launched program again in the fall when students hopefully return back to school. And so we're looking forward to that partnership as well. Now, in the context of the pandemic, when in March, a lot of university students were actually being kicked out of their residences, et cetera, 167 students were still part of the Home Share program and living with an older adult in the city of Toronto, and a few of them in Barrie as well. And as a result of that, they were actually able to support one another. They were able to provide assistance to one another, and many of them really benefited from the fact that they were in this program and were able to navigate the pandemic together. And so we're happy to share that report as well. And then a couple final quick points here. We were recognized by the World Health Organization as a innovation that really helps to keep people in their homes and communities for as long as possible. And Barrie has a very strong and robust age-friendly network that we're also part of. And so we're happy to say that. And then here's the best news. The best news is that the Toronto Home Share program is now Canada Home Share, and Canada Home Share will have 14 sites across, 14 or more sites across the country over the next 2 years, where we are bringing home sharing to a lot more of the communities where we can make a difference for older adults who want to live in their homes and communities with a little bit of financial support, a little bit of emotional and social support. And I think that we have to think about solutions and innovations that have not been thought about. I don't think that policies and programs have been made with different generations in mind, and we've made decisions one generation at a time. And as a result, we've, encountered some of the issues that I've been talking about today. And so I'll stop there and I'll stop my share. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer the questions. And I really, really appreciate the opportunity to talk today and to share this information with you.
Yes, and thank you. I'm just looking at time, and we do want questions. We'll just kind of wrap up where we are, because I know some people have to scoot right at 1:30. But if you're okay to hang on a little bit after the meeting, and anybody that wants to have a chat and could.
Okay. And anyone who's interested, I'll just put the link down in the chat. You can find out more information about the program.
Awesome. So Arif.
Thank you, President Debbie. Dr. Mirza, just fascinating and staggering, actually, when you put the context of the numbers and the percentages and the demographics for us to really shape a better understanding of what you've been researching and dedicating yourself to. The takeaway for me was one thing is for sure, that the way we've always done things once again comes into question. That mindset, and it's an opportunity that we need to invite ourselves to challenge legacy beliefs. And so there's an opportunity for unlikely opportunities of new friendships and relationships, and a solution. Anybody who's paying attention to the data in the newspapers, et cetera, I think acknowledges that the current process isn't sustainable. So on behalf of fellow Rotarians in our club, I definitely want to thank you for a very informative and eye-opening presentation, and I'm sure we all appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate that very much. And I'll tell you that I had the luxury of growing up on a street where my mom and her brothers and sisters 30 years ago decided that they were all going to live on the same street so that they could help support one another as they grew older. And I don't think that growing older should be seen as a luxury. I think that's the big problem here. And most people don't have the same luxury that my mother has. I can tell you that even if my mother was living on her own, she does not want to go to retirement living, and she does not want to go to long-term care. And I think there's an expectation, a societal expectation, that there's a linear path forward for older adults. As you get older, you move out of your home, you move into a condo, then you go to retirement living, and then you go to long-term care. And I don't think that that's the way forward for a lot of older adults. I really am against a lot of the things that happen in long-term care. You've seen the disasters that happen as a result of the pandemic. And a lot of the solutions that are available in the context of retirement living or long-term care should be brought back right into our homes and communities, and older adults should be allowed to be a very sort of respected and valued part the communities that they live in.
Well, Doctor, one of the things, sorry, President Deb, but one of the things that if you look at it, medicine's reflecting that we're looking at, age-old medicine, traditional Eastern medicine. And as well, if we look culturally, I think Canada or North America is reflective of bringing other ways forward and bringing that back to the future, to the forefront to look at ways of living here. So anyway, I'm past my time.
Thank you very much.
Because everybody can stay on after, but I do want to respect the time of the people that need to scoop right at 1:30. So we do have an appreciation certificate for you. As you know,
thank you very much.
Rotary is a huge supporter of polio. And so for a thank you for being our guest speaker today. We are this close to ending polio. We have made 10 polio plus vaccinations have been made in your name, as well as our resource center has stepped up to help fight against COVID and just using our network as Rotary. And a donation has been made in your name for that. So thank you again, and please stay on, everybody. Please stay on a few minutes.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. And so, President Deb, Stronger Together, Together Inspired Moment. The key to success for our social media is for everybody to please share your posts. Hit like, hit share, and help out and get the message out. So it's amazing how that works, and it just, you tell someone, and it just explodes. So please do that. Remember, we've got the screening program. Connect with Paul for that. We've got the fun run and the fishing raffle. So lots to do. So please participate. And when you click off, yes, Jody, we're going to wait for that too. And yes, Wayne, I know the two of you are side by side on my screen. So we got the Leafs and the Habs here. Okay. So yes, so we'll do this. We've officially closed the meeting. So if you do have to scoot, please, but hang on and we can continue our conversation and learn a little bit more about. I know there is some questions